Episode 16, How Much is Too Much? This is the Chronicles of Shred. I think I've been doing too much, and it's actually slowing me down. See, what I do is every time I make a little bit of progress, I just stack on top of it instead of pivoting to something else. So I will do the same guitar practice routine, and then I will try to add another routine onto it because in my mind, I'm like, I can do this, I got this. There comes a point pretty quickly I'm discovering where I can't do this and I ain't got this. And I actually start to burn out pretty bad. I went through a pretty bad season of burnout when I was playing in 3-band, touring and rehearsing, and I actually had to take a little break from everything to get that burnout out. And I think I'm a little bit more susceptible to burnout now than I used to be. And I don't know if it's age or if it's because I already burned myself to the ground a time or two. But my philosophy has kind of always been more is more. Instead of making space for new things, I just shove them right in and keep on going. And this past week, I really kind of hit the wall again. I've been doing about 2 hours of vocal block every day. I've been doing about 2 hours of guitar practice in the morning and then another hour of just hand synchronization practice at night in front of the TV. I have a 2 or 3 hour content creation block. And so I kind of came to the realization that I'm practicing things, but I'm not necessarily doing things. So I will do an extended vocal workout, a vocal lesson, and then I'm done. But I haven't sung any songs. And I will do an extended guitar skill set practice of scales and arpeggios and things. But I'm not doing anything musical with it. In my mind, I'm like, well, I'll just add an afternoon block of singing songs. And I'll add an afternoon block of applying the theory that I'm learning in a musical context. Problem is, it gets way, way out of control. Because of my current skill level, I do have a kind of a rigorous content production schedule because it still takes me a long time to do things. Last week, man, I just hit the wall and I had to take a break. All those things felt like discipline, but really it was overload. I had days where I was exhausted. I felt stuck. I felt like I wasn't making progress, even though mentally I know that I am. But when I pick up a guitar to do the same thing I've done every day for weeks and it just won't land, it's frustrating. And I'm definitely living in a season right now where there is no feedback. The only feedback that I have is my own perception. And if your own perception is a little skewed, then it gets heavy and it gets oppressive and it gets depressing. Motivation just falls away. So to break it down simply, I have too many goals at once and I'm not spacing them out. Rather than just stacking them on top of each other, I'm going to revise my schedule, the same blocks and the same time frames, but the different. Some days are going to be for just skills and mechanics, and other days are going to be for execution, because none of this means anything if I can't make music out of it. All the scales and chords and arpeggios in the world don't mean anything if they never come together musically. You know, there's extremes on each end. There are guys that are so classically trained that they don't know how to improvise because all they know how to do is follow the rules. And then there are guys that are so self-taught that they don't know the first thing about the rules. They just play by ear and by shape and by feel. And neither of those is ideal. It's got to be a mix. It's got to be a blend. And there's always the age-old debate between the two schools of thought, just like there's the age-old debate between cover musicians and original musicians. And I've always straddled the line and done both. I just don't see any reason to exclude one because they both have value, they both have merit, they both have their place. And one of the things that I've struggled with in the classically trained versus self-taught is bridging the gap. And I see now that this is why, because I will take a scale book and learn all my scales, but never really learn to use them musically. So then when I go to improvise, I go back to the stuff I already know. I go back to my shapes and my patterns and fumbling around until I find something good and then memorizing it. And I do have to admit that I expect superhuman abilities out of myself. The cognitive load of spending a great deal of time learning and then immediately trying to pivot to another session of executing, especially on multiple fronts, it's too taxing. I was definitely moving into mental and physical burnout. I wasn't being as productive as I thought I was just being super busy. So I kind of arrived at this idea that instead of trying to do all of everything every day, I need to rotate things in and out. So I'm thinking like maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday are skill days for vocals and guitar and fundamentals. And Tuesdays and Thursdays maybe become my creation days where I'm writing and recording and trying to use the things that I'm learning musically. Singing songs instead of singing exercises, and using scales and arpeggios in soloing examples instead of just being able to execute them. And then I have kind of a massive creative load that I'm trying to manage too. I'm trying to record music while I'm learning the fundamentals of my studio, the mechanical pieces and the virtual pieces, and still thinking about performance and bands. I said last week that I reached out to a band, and then I kind of withdrew myself from consideration. And I think that contributed to the burnout, because I started learning the music for that, and I was well beyond my limit. There was no more that I could do. And I think the real issue is once I make a little bit of progress, I just want to drop the hammer. Once I'm moving, I want to move top speed and get to the destination. And I've got to stop doing that. Once I see my guitar improving a little bit, once I see my voice improving a little bit, I'm like, okay, cover band time. Okay, get out there and play some shows. Okay, let's go. Let's release some music. And I just can't. And it's not reasonable for me to expect that I can. And then it creates this loop of frustration and failure. So I'm stepping back a little bit and saying, I'm not going to do a band right now. I don't need to get out and start just trying to get out there for the sake of getting out there. And I need to pace myself in a reasonable way so that I can actually make progress without crushing my will to live. And I think that this separation idea is good because it'll separate the skill brain from the creative brain, and at the same time help them integrate in a reasonable way. Develop the skill, and then the next day try to utilize the skill in a musical way and go back and forth rather than trying to do all of it every day. I guess in a sense this is a good thing because I guess it's part of finding my voice. I'm learning how I work by working, and so this podcast is a real-time experiment, and this is me kind of failing in real time and realizing that corrections need to be made. This is the experiment, and this is what I said that I would show you, the wins and the losses. I really think that what makes the difference is taking the L and bouncing back from it. This really was kind of a pivotal week for me because the temptation to quit was stronger than it's ever been, even right down to just kind of feeling like I don't even need to do a podcast this week because I don't have anything to say. I sat down to start writing out what I wanted to talk about, and I had nothing. I haven't really done anything significant this week. I don't really have anything new to report. I don't have anything exciting to talk about, and I kind of realized that the nothing is the podcast, and the burnout and the kind of failure of the system is really the podcast, because if the system fails and you just accept it and stop, then you failed. And I was close. I was very close to just not doing one this week because I am honestly kind of burnt out. And it doesn't help that it was tax season and we had a very complex tax situation this year with moving and selling my house in multiple states. It turned into quite an ordeal, but that's done and I'm feeling much better about that. And I did take a couple days and just rest, and I'm feeling a little bit rested and a little more clear and a little more focused. And I just have to remember that Rome wasn't built in a day, I guess. I can't do everything and expect to get better at everything all at once. And I have to accept the fact that I gave myself a year to do this, and it's going to take the year. I mean, I wanted to finish it in 6 months and be out there and succeed, and it's just not going to happen, but I'm not going to quit. I just have to give myself the chance to grow at a reasonable rate and stop expecting superhuman results and stop thinking that I can just push harder and work harder. I have to let myself recover and let myself grow and basically calm down a little bit. You know, the other thing is I'm still in my original band, and we just announced some summer tour dates today, in fact, and there's more to come, and that would have put me well beyond my limits. So I'm abandoning the band search right now, scaling back what I'm doing because now I have to start rehearsing for tour shows again. I just have to let myself breathe a little bit and not be such a taskmaster over myself. I very much create deadlines in my mind, and I very much create pressure situations for myself that aren't real. They don't exist except where I have set them up. So the idea that I have to be playing acoustic shows by this summer has been in my head, and I just have to let it go. I'm not there yet, and I'm not going to rush it, and I'm not going to burn myself out. I've been trying to speed this whole process up, and it's actually slowing it down. You know, the old saying is work smarter, not harder. And I have not been doing that. I've just been working harder. And I just have to accept that I am in the building phase. And yes, improvements are being made, but I'm not ready for my close-up just yet. I'm doing myself a disservice by scrambling to get there. You know, I said last week that if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. And I am very much a person who takes things that should be fun and turns them into not fun. I get into the mindset that I expect myself to excel beyond normal expectations. And I don't have to do that. There's nobody standing over me with a stick. There's no deadline. There's nothing that's telling me when this needs to be done except me. And I guess maybe that's the flip side of kind of being your own boss is you set the pace, and you can absolutely set the wrong pace. You can go way too slow and be lazy, and you can go way too fast and way too hard and suck the fun out of it and ruin it and burn yourself out. And I definitely lean towards the latter. What a shame it would be to waste this incredible opportunity that I have by being a taskmaster over myself and burning myself out. I'm taking a little time. Not a lot of time, but I've given myself a few days to just back off of the pressure cooker. I've given myself permission to not push towards live performance. And I'm giving myself permission to slow down, explore, and enjoy the process. And it's tough. It's tough because I definitely feel like I need to get myself together. So I'm taking a breath, and I'm rethinking the way that I'm doing things. It's going to be trial and error. And it's not the end of the world. I'm going to do my best, but I'm going to enjoy the process, and I'm going to slow down and learn and savor the experience. I've got so many things. I've got new gear in the box sitting here waiting for me to do an unboxing video that I've had for months because I just can't get to it. And I've got this amazing pedal that I bought in like November of last year that I have not even scratched the surface on, that I've kind of started watching videos on about how to use it. But I feel like I can't dig into that because I feel like I need to make a video out of it, and I need to show my work and show what I've done. And it all gets a little overwhelming. So I'm making a shift. I'm giving myself room to breathe. I'm giving myself a chance to catch my breath, refocus, and approach it like a lifestyle, not like a goal. And I do the same thing in the gym, where I will go in and absolutely annihilate myself, and then I can't walk for 3 days. That's not a lifestyle. I can't do it overnight. And I'm such an overnight guy, man. Like, I want it now. I want to be great at everything. I want to knock it out of the park every single time I step up to bat. And it just doesn't work that way. And I have to accept it and move on in a reasonable and grounded way and move towards my goals. So that's my shift. Less chaos, more structure, more breathing room. Doing less, but doing it better. So let's see what happens. This is the Chronicles of Shred.